There comes a moment when your heart feels like it's carrying the weight of 1,000 thoughts, replaying conversations, regretting decisions, fearing what's next. You lie awake, wondering what if and why me? And slowly you begin to realize it's not life that's heavy, it's your thoughts that are. Overthinking is like standing in quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. You convince yourself that thinking more will bring clarity, but in reality, it only steals your peace. True peace isn't found in solving every problem. It's found in surrendering what's beyond your control. The mind can be a beautiful servant, but a terrible master, and until you learn to quiet it, you'll never hear the calm whisper of your soul. You see, your overthinking often comes from fear of loss, rejection, or making the wrong move. But what if I told you that every moment of uncertainty is also a moment of faith? That every unanswered question is an invitation to trust. Trust in the plan that is written for you. You were never asked to control the outcome, only to take the step. The rest belongs to the one who knows what's best for you. Let go of the illusion that your peace depends on having everything figured out. Sometimes the answers only come after you stop searching so hard for them. Stop rehearsing your pain. Stop rewriting your past. Instead, return to the present moment. It's the only place where healing can begin. Remember, your thoughts are not always telling you the truth. You are not your anxiety, your doubts, or your fears. You are the soul beneath all that noise, the heart that can still feel peace even in the middle of chaos. Recognize when your thoughts start controlling you. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest and most transformative things you can ever do. Because most of the time, you don't even realize it's happening. The thoughts come in quietly, a memory, a doubt, a question, and before you know it, you've built an entire world inside your head. You've argued with people who aren't in the room, relived mistakes that can't be undone, and feared futures that haven't even arrived. It feels like thinking, but it's actually excess overthinking. It's the mind taking control, not to guide you toward peace, but to keep you trapped in cycles of what if and why not. The truth is, your mind is meant to serve you, not enslave you. Yet for many of us, it becomes the loudest voice in the rooms. You wake up and it starts replaying a conversation, worrying about how someone saw you, questioning if you did enough, if you are enough. It tells you stories that feel so real you start to believe them. You start living more in your thoughts than in your actual life. The moment you begin recognizing that shift from being as in the thought as observing it is the beginning. Awareness is like a light. When you shine it on your thoughts, you begin to see them for what they are. Fleeting, temporary, not absolute truth. A thought is not a command. It's not reality. It's just a wave passing through your mind. You can notice it, acknowledge it, and let it move on. But when you don't recognize it, you start attaching meaning to every passing idea. You feed it with fear, replay it with emotion, and suddenly that one small thought grows into a storm. Have you ever noticed how your mind can create problems that don't even exist? You're sitting peacefully, and then one thought says, "What if something goes wrong?" And the heart starts to race. You play out entire scenarios in your head, each one ending worse than the last. Nothing in reality has changed, yet your body feels like it's in danger. That's how powerful the mind is. It can make you feel things that aren't even happening. The only way to stop that spiral is to catch it early, to recognize when your thoughts start pulling you away from peace. When you recognize it, you create space between you and the thought. In that space, you can choose how to respond. You can remind yourself, this is just a thought. It's not me. That simple awareness weakens the power of the mind's noise. You stop being dragged by every emotion it creates. You start reclaiming control. It doesn't mean the thoughts will stop coming. They won't. But it means you'll stop believing every story they tell. This recognition also requires compassion. Don't judge yourself for overthinking. Don't fight your thoughts with anger. The more you resist, the more they persist. Instead, observe them with kindness, the way you'd watch clouds pass across the sky. You don't chase them, you don't cling to them, you just watch. Slowly, the storm quiets down. Slowly, you realize that peace was never lost, it was only buried under noise. Sometimes overthinking disguises itself as responsibility. You tell yourself, I'm just being careful, or I'm just trying to plan ahead, but there's a fine line between reflection and rumination. Reflection leads to understanding. Rumination leads to anxiety. To know the difference, listen to your body. When your thoughts are constructive, you feel grounded. When they start to control you, you feel tightness in your chest, your breath, your shoulder. Your body always tells the truth before your mind does. So, when you notice your thoughts running wild, pause. Take a breath. Come back to this moment. Look around you. Feel the ground beneath your feet, the air entering your lungs. Remind yourself, right now I am safe. Right now, I am okay. That simple grounding breaks the spell of overthinking. It brings you home to the present where peace lives. Recognizing when your thoughts control you isn't about silencing your mind completely. It's about not letting it dictate your state of being. It's about realizing that you can have thoughts without becoming them. You can feel fear without being consumed by it. You can experience uncertainty and still choose calm. You are the observer, not the chaos. The more you practice awareness, the quieter your mind becomes, and the more your heart begins to lead. And in that stillness, you'll find clarity, not because you figured everything out, but because you finally stopped letting your thoughts drown out the truth that was always there. Peace begins the moment you stop believing every thought that tries to steal it. Breathe and return to the present moment. Peace lives in now, not in the what if. How often do we forget to simply as breathe? We rush through our days consumed by thoughts of tomorrow, haunted by regrets of yesterday, and anxious about everything that might go wrong. Our minds are constantly racing, painting pictures of a future that hasn't even come yet, or replaying scenes from a past we can no longer change. And in the process, we miss the one place where peace truly exists. The present moment, the breath. The now. When you take a deep breath, something shifts. The noise in your mind softens, your heartbeat slows, and suddenly you become aware of yourself, of your surroundings, of the life happening here right now. It's in that moment that you realize how much time you've spent living anywhere. The mind loves to wander. It pulls you into what if I fail, and what if I lose, and what if I'm not enough. But every what if is a doorway to what if, and every return to your breath is a doorway to peace. The breath is sacred because it anchors you in the present. It reminds you that you are alive in this very second, not in your fears of the future, not in the shadows of the past. Just here. This is where life unfolds, where healing begins, and where clarity can be found. The present moment is not just time pausing. It's a space of divine connection. When you return to it, you return to yourself. But why is it so hard to stay present? Because the mind believes that worrying gives it control. It thinks that by analyzing every possibility, it can prevent pain. Yet the irony is that overthinking creates the very pain you're trying to avoid. You can't control the future by thinking about it. You can only lose your peace in the present by doing so. The mind is like a restless traveler, always moving, never content to sit still. But peace doesn't live in movement, it lives in stillness. You have to remind yourself that the future is not here yet, and when it does come, you will meet it with the same strength that has carried you through every yesterday, Every time your thoughts begin to spiral into fear or uncertainty, pause and breathe. Feel the air entering your lungs. It's proof that life is still happening right here. Each breath whispers of you are still being taken care of. When your heart races with worry, your breath brings it back to rhythm. When your mind drifts into what if, your breath calls it home to what is. Try this simple awareness. Close your eyes and take one slow, intentional breath. Inhale peace, exhale control. Inhale trust, exhale fear. Let your breath become your prayer, a reminder that you don't have to know what's next to be at peace right now. The breath teaches surrender. It teaches patience. It teaches faith. You see, peace doesn't come from solving every problem. It comes from realizing that not every problem needs to be solved today. Sometimes it's enough to just be, to sit in the stillness and know that even when things feel uncertain, you are exactly where you need to be. Life unfolds one breath at a time, and you can't live tomorrow's moments with today's breath. Every what if tries to pull you out of the present. What if I'm not good enough? What if they leave? What if it doesn't work? But what if, just once, you answered those thoughts with stillness instead of fear? What if you trusted that everything meant for you will come and everything not meant for you will pass? The present moment doesn't demand perfection, it simply asks for your presence. When you breathe deeply and truly return to now, you start to notice small miracles. The warmth of the sunlight, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the way peace gently sits at the edge of awareness, waiting to be felt. The more you practice being here, the more you realize that nothing is missing in this moment. The what if world of your mind fades, and what remains is truth. This moment is enough. You are enough. Peace is not found by chasing answers. It's found by pausing long enough to hear the silence between your thoughts. And in that silence, you discover something powerful, that the peace you were searching for was never out there in some perfect future. It was always here, breathing with you, waiting for you to return. So when your mind runs ahead into fear or looks back with regret, stop. Take a breath. Feel it. Because in this breath, in this moment, you are home. Replace worry with trust. It sounds simple, almost too simple, especially when your heart feels heavy with questions that have no answers yet. But this is where the real work begins. The work of the heart. Worry is the mind's attempt to control what it was never meant to control. It feeds on uncertainty, on fear, on the desperate need to know how things will turn out. Trust, on the other hand, is the soul's quiet whisper that says, it's okay. You don't have to know. You just have to believe. You're trying to carry the weight of something that was never yours to carry. You take the future, something unseen and unknown, and you bring it into your present, trying to solve it with your limited understanding. Worry convinces you that if you think about something long enough, you can prevent the pain or avoid disappointment. But the truth is, worry doesn't stop tomorrow's sorrow, it only steals today's peace. Trust is the opposite energy. It doesn't mean being careless or passive. It means doing your part and then letting go of the outcome. It means believing that what's meant for you will find you, even if it takes time, and that what isn't meant for you will leave, even if it hurts. Trust is not ignorance, it's faith in motion. It's a deep knowing that there is a purpose in your waiting, that there's wisdom even in delay, and that every unanswered prayer carries guidance within it. To replace worry with trust, you have to start by recognizing that control is an illusion. You can plan, prepare, and hope, but life has its own rhythm, and it unfolds according to a wisdom greater than your own. Sometimes the path that seems unclear is actually the one that's protecting you. Sometimes the door that doesn't open is saving you from a place you weren't meant to enter. Trust allows you to rest in that mystery. It teaches you that not everything delayed is denied. When your heart starts to worry, pause for a moment and ask your soul, what if this isn't falling apart? What if it's falling into place? Because most of what you worry about never even hints up. And when challenges do come, they rarely come without purpose. Every difficulty that once terrified you has shaped you into the person you are now. You survived what you thought you couldn't. That's proof enough that you can trust the process again. Worry focuses on could go wrong. Trust focuses on at who is in control. Worry looks at the storm. Trust looks at the one who can calm it. I don't know how this will work out. Trust says, I don't have to know. I just have to keep walking. That shift changes everything. It changes your energy, your choices, and your peace. When you start replacing worry with trust, you also begin to live differently. You stop rushing the timing of your life. You stop questioning every silence, every waiting season, every closed door. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? Because when you trust in Him, even your trials become teachers. You begin to see life not as something happening as to you, but for you. There will be moments when your faith feels fragile, when the waiting seems endless, and worry starts to creep back in. In those moments, don't fight the feeling. Acknowledge it, but don't feed it. Return to stillness. Remind yourself of every time things worked out when you thought they wouldn't. Remember the peace that came after the storm. Remember that everything you've lost was replaced with something better in time. Maybe not in the way you expected, but in the way you needed. Trust doesn't promise an easy life. It promises a meaningful one. It teaches you to find calm in uncertainty and strength in surrender. It allows you to stop living from fear and start living from faith. You stop asking for everything to make sense and start finding beauty in the parts that don't. Because the truth is, when you choose trust over worry, you're not saying that everything will go perfectly. You're saying that even if it doesn't, you'll still be okay. Life will never be free of uncertainty, but it can be free of anxiety. The key is trust. Trust in the timing. Trust in the unfolding. Trust that what's meant for you is already making its way toward you quietly, perfectly, and right on time. So the next time your mind begins to race and your heart begins to doubt, pause. Take a deep breath and remind yourself, you've made it through every uncertain day before this one, not because you worried, but because somewhere deep down you trusted. Let go of what you cannot control. Surrender doesn't mean weakness, it means wisdom. This is one of the hardest lessons the heart has to learn, because everything within us wants to hold on. We want to manage every outcome, fix every problem, and predict every turn of life. We cling to people, plans, and expectations, believing that if we just try harder, everything will go the way we want. But life doesn't work that way. The more we try to force control, the more resistance we create. The tighter we hold on, the more we suffer. True peace begins the moment you release your grip and accept that not everything is meant to be in your hands. Surrender doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It doesn't mean you stop caring or stop trying. It means you've reached a point of understanding that there are limits to what human effort can do. It's the wisdom that recognizes, I've done my part, now I leave the rest to the one who knows better. This kind of surrender is not defeat. It's trusting that you don't need to control the ocean to learn how to swim. You only need to trust the waves to carry you where you're meant to go. So much of our pain comes from holding on to things we were never meant to control. We replay conversations we can't do. We cling to relationships that no longer serve our growth. We stress over outcomes we've already handed to destiny. And in doing so, we exhaust our souls. The heart was never meant to carry the entire world. It was meant to love, to try to believe, and then to let go. Letting go doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, a quiet unlearning. It starts when you realize that control is an illusion. You can control your actions, your intentions, your effort, but you can never control how others respond, how life unfolds, or what the future holds. The moment you understand that, you stop wasting energy on what's beyond your reach. You begin to focus on what fits is within your power, your response, your faith, your peace. That's where true strength lives. Surrender is the bridge between chaos and calm. It's what allows you to breathe when things don't make sense. You don't need to have all the answers to rest. You just need to trust that there's a reason you're being asked to wait, to release, or to walk away. Sometimes the things you try hardest to control are the very things that are meant to teach you trust. When life feels uncertain, it's often an invitation to let go of fear and lean into faith. When you surrender, you stop fighting the flow of life. You stop resisting what's meant to be and start cooperating with it. You begin to see that not every delay is a denial, not every loss is a punishment, and not every closed door is rejection. Sometimes it's redirection. Sometimes it's protection. Sometimes it's the universe gently pulling you towards something far better than what you were trying to hold on to. But you can't receive what's next if your hands are still gripping what's gone. There's a deep kind of peace that comes when you finally let go. You stop overanalyzing. You stop replaying. You stop asking why. You start breathing again. You start noticing the beauty that was always around you, but hidden behind your need for control. You start realizing that things unfold perfectly, not according to your timeline, but according to divine timing. That's the wisdom behind surrender. It's not about being powerless. It's about recognizing where your power ends and where grace begins. Think about it. Every moment you've surrendered in the past, something better eventually followed. Maybe not immediately, maybe not in the way you expected, but always in a way that made sense later. You've seen it before. The job you didn't get that led to the opportunity you were meant for. The relationship that ended but made space for healing. The plan that failed but redirected you to your purpose. Surrender is trusting that unseen wisdom again, even when it feels hard. So when you find yourself clinging, pause. Is this something I can truly control? If the answer is no, then breathe and let it go. Let it fall into the hands of the one who never loses control. Let go of the urge to fix what isn't yours to fix. Let go of the fear that everything will fall apart without your grip. Life has its own intelligence. It knows how to balance itself, how to bring what's meant for you, and how to take what's not. Letting go doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It means you've grown enough to understand that peace is far more valuable than control. It means you've matured enough to trust the process, even when you can't see where it's leading. The wise heart knows that surrender isn't about losing power. It's about aligning with it. Because the moment you stop trying to control everything is the moment you realize that you were never alone in the fluid. Speak gently to yourself. It sounds like such a simple act, yet it's something so many of us forget to do. We spend our days extending kindness to others, comforting their pain, forgiving their mistakes, and encouraging their dreams. But when it comes to our own hearts, we often speak with harshness, criticism, and judgment. The voice inside your mind can become your greatest enemy or your most faithful friend. The difference lies in how you choose to speak to yourself when no one else is listening. You see, the words you whisper to yourself matter more than you realize. They shape your confidence, your peace, and your belief in who you are. Every time you say, "I can't do this," your heart believes it. Every time you say, "I'm not good enough," you dim your own love. Your thoughts are not just thoughts, they are seeds, And whatever you plant in your mind eventually grows into your reality. If you constantly water your heart with self-criticism, don't be surprised when it blooms into self-doubt. But if you learn to water it with compassion, understanding, and patience, it will grow into strength and peace. Speaking gently to yourself begins with awareness, noticing how you talk to yourself when you make a mistake or fall short of your own expectations. When something goes wrong, do you comfort yourself or condemn yourself? Do you say, "It's okay, I'm learning," or do you say, "I'm so stupid, I can't do anything right"? Most of us speak words to ourselves that we would never dare say to someone we love. Imagine talking to a friend who failed at something. You wouldn't call them useless. You wouldn't shame them. You'd remind them that mistakes don't define them. You'd tell them they're capable, resilient, and still worthy of love. So why not do the same for yourself? The way you speak to yourself during difficult times reveals how deeply you've learned to accept yourself. Harsh self-talk doesn't build strength. It builds shame. And shame doesn't make you better. It makes you smaller. When you speak gently to yourself, you create space for growth instead of guilt. You begin to see failure not as a reflection of your worth, but as a normal part of being human. You stop punishing yourself for being imperfect and start embracing your journey, flaws and all. You must remember that your inner voice was shaped by years of experience, by what you were told as a child, by how others treated you, by the standards you were taught to meet. But the beautiful thing is, you can rewrite that voice. You can teach your mind new language that uplifts instead of destroys, that heals instead of harms. It begins with small changes, replacing "I can't" with "I'll try." "I failed" with "I learned," and "I'm broken" with "I'm healing." These shifts might seem small, but they change the way your heart feels and the way your spirit moves through the world. When you speak gently to yourself, you also begin to attract gentleness from life itself. The energy you give to yourself mirrors the energy you receive from others. If you constantly criticize yourself, you'll unconsciously accept criticism from the world. But when you treat yourself with compassion, you create boundaries. You teach others how you deserve to be spoken to, how you deserve to be treated. Self-kindness doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong enough to walk away from what doesn't honor your peace. There will always be days when you feel low, when you make mistakes, when you fall short of the person you want to be. On those days, you need your own voice to be your comfort, not your voice to be your comfort. Remind yourself that it's okay to not have everything figured out. It's okay to feel lost sometimes. You are allowed to be both a work in progress and a masterpiece at the same time. You can still be proud of yourself, even while you're learning. Speak gently to yourself when you wake up tired, when you forget something, when you're overwhelmed by the world. Speak gently to yourself when you compare your path to someone else's, when you question your worth, when you feel like you're behind. Speak gently to yourself, not because you've earned it, but because you need it. Because gentleness is not a reward. It's medicine for the soul. In time, that gentle voice becomes your anchor. It becomes the voice that steadies you when life feels uncertain, that reminds you you're doing your best, that tells you you're still worthy even when things don't go your way. Speaking gently to yourself is not about ignoring your flaws. It's about meeting them with love instead of judgment. Because growth doesn't come from shame, it comes from acceptance. So, the next time you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not enough," pause, take a breath, and replace it with, "I'm doing my best, and that's enough for today." Be patient with your heart. Be kind to your soul. You are growing, healing, and becoming, and you deserve a voice within you that believes that too. Create stillness daily. In a world that constantly demands your attention, This might be one of the most radical healing acts you can do for your soul. Every moment, something is pulling you. Notifications, responsibilities, noise, conversations, screens, expectations. We've grown so used to movement and distraction that silence now feels uncomfortable, almost unnatural. But stillness is not emptiness. It's where you reconnect with the essence of who you are. It's where peace lives quietly, waiting for you to notice it again. Stillness is not the absence of life. It's the grounding that gives life its meaning. When you create stillness daily, you give your heart a chance to breathe. You allow your mind to rest from its constant need to analyze, fix, and plan. You give space for clarity to rise to the surface, for truth to whisper what noise has been drowning out. Without stillness, you live on autopilot, moving from one task to another, one thought to the next, without ever truly at rest being. You might achieve a lot, but inside, you feel drained and disconnected. We often think we'll find peace when everything around us finally quiets down, when the to-do list is complete, when life becomes less chaotic, when we have more time. But peace doesn't arrive when the world slows down. It arrives when you slow down, even if the world doesn't. Creating stillness isn't about escaping life. It's about returning to it fully. It's about pausing long enough to hear your own heartbeat again, to feel your breath, to remember that beneath all the noise and stress, you are still here, alive, capable, and whole. You can find stillness anywhere. It doesn't have to mean sitting cross-legged in meditation or being far away from people. Sometimes it's in the quiet of the morning, before the world wakes up. Sometimes it's a slow walk where you notice the wind against your face or the rhythm of your steps. Sometimes it's turning off your phone, taking a few deep breaths, and just listening to your own thoughts, to your emotions, to the silence that holds you. These moments may seem small, but they are sacred. They are the pauses that keep your spirit aligned with what truly matters. In stillness, the noise of fear and doubt begins to soften. You start to see things more clearly. What you've been holding onto, what's been weighing on you, what you truly need. Stillness is where wisdom speaks. It doesn't shout, it whispers. But to hear it, you must create space in your day for silence. Even a few minutes can shift the energy of your entire being. When you make stillness a habit, your relationship with life changes. You stop reacting to every challenge and start responding with intention. You stop chasing validation and start feeling content within yourself. You realize that not every thought deserves your attention, not every emotion needs to control you, and not every situation requires a reaction. You begin to understand that peace was never something you had to find outside yourself. It was always within you, hidden beneath layers of noise. Stillness is also where healing happens. The wounds you've buried deep inside can only surface in silence. When the distractions fade, it's not always comfortable. Sometimes, stillness brings up emotions you've avoided. But that's the beauty of it. You can't heal what you won't face. In those quiet moments, you learn to sit with your feelings without running from them. You begin to understand them, release them, and make peace with them. This is what true healing looks like. Gentle, peaceful, and deeply transformative. The more you practice stillness, the more it begins to follow you into your daily life. You start carrying that calm into your conversations, your decisions, your relationships. You learn to pause before reacting, to breathe before speaking, to listen before assuming. You become anchored, even when everything around you feels ills, and that's the quiet strength stillness gives you, the ability to remain peaceful even in chaos. Stillness is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Just as your body needs rest, your mind needs silence. Without it, you burn out. You lose touch with yourself. You return home to your center, the place where clarity, gratitude, and faith live. So create stillness daily, even if only for a few minutes. Disconnect from the noise. Sit with your breath. Let the world spin while you stay still. And as you do, you'll begin to notice something remarkable, that peace isn't a distant destination waiting for you at the end of your journey. It's right here in this breath, in this moment, in the quiet space you create for your soul to rest. Because stillness isn't just what you do, it's who you become when you finally stop running and allow yourself to simply as be a